Hello all, welcome to this presentation on the essay Sweets by Robert Lynn. So, this work is prescribed in the Introduction to Literature paper for the first year BA English students, and it is presented by Selvamurugan, Assistant Professor of English, JJ College of Arts and Science. So, Robert Lynn is an Irish essayist and journalist. He writes under the pseudonym YY in journals like The New Statesman and Nation. So Robert Lynn's essay have somber humor and satirical remarks. His prose essay Sweets explores children's fondness for different flavored chocolates and sweets. So we can know that this essay is written on the love of children over sweets and chocolates, and the author shares his experience over sweets and chocolates from his childhood to sweets as exchange. So the essay begins with the depressing statistics of spending 50 million pounds every year on chocolates and confectionery in Great Britain. So the author begins the essay with stating the statistics of the expenditure of the Great Britain people over sweets. The city has lost Wordsworth of witnessing the variety of flowers and animals, whereas as an exchange he has the riches of the sweet shop. So the author quotes William Wordsworth here. He says sweets replaced Wordsworthian delights. Sweets as expensive luxury. It is hard to trace when the social history of democratization of sweets began. The author says that if we trace where the democratization of sweets and chocolate began, we could fail. Sweets had not been the universal food of children till the 18th century, when sugar had been an expensive thing. The author says that till 18th century children are never fond of sweets and chocolate. Why? Because of the expense. In sense, sugar was treated as luxurious thing those days, so that the children are never fond of sweets in form of chocolates or in any kind of form till the 18th century. And then Lynn doubts whether poor children had ever tasted sweets like Macfine kissing comforts referred to in Shakespearean plays. Earlier, we discussed that author Robert Lynn quotes William Wordsworth, and here now he quotes William Shakespeare, and he doubts that whether the poor children of that times had ever tasted sweets like Macfern kissing comforts that referred in Shakespearean plays, which means it was referred or quoted in Shakespearean plays, but at that time he doubts, author doubts whether the children of that time tasted that sweets or not. Then sweets for happiness. It is highly fortunate that doctors once thought sweets were good for us. So here the author says once it was highly fortunate that the physicians thought the sweets were good for us. Sweets have made a greater contribution to the physical happiness of mankind. So, in sense, it is true that the sweets have made a great contribution to the physical happiness of mankind. The sight of the bottles, the sweet shops stirs the imagination of the infant. Nowadays, or else in the previous century, the children were truly fond of sweets. If there is a sweet bottle and it becomes, in sense, a dream or something to a infant. Lind, in a tone of exaggeration, says that the sweets in each box compete with the rivals to be the choice of the boy who enters the shop with a penny, whereas he experiences only agonies of indecision among bull's eyes. In such case, the author says that if a boy enters to a sweet shop with some pennies, there is some fight in between his thoughts. In sense, there is some confusion on what to buy. He experiences only agony of indecision among bullseye, brandy balls, pear drops, and barley sugar. Children want to taste all the sweets in the shop. They cannot decide which sweet to buy and which to reject. So here the author says that he speaks about every children in that time. They are they are little or they are greatly fond of the sweets, and at the same time they are some much have some little amount of money. With that thing they imagine or else they decide to eat or taste all the kinds of sweets in the sweet shop, and it's a great fight in their imagination, in their thoughts, that what to buy or what to reject. So in this case the author says that the sweets give happiness and the love for sweets. All the jaws of sweets fill him with an ache of longing from throat to stomach. In such case, if a child, if a boy or a girl, or watching the sweet jar, it fills with the ache of longing from throat to stomach. From the throat to the stomach, he or she and the whole body is longing for the sweet. Great are the joys of greed, but great are its suffering. Lynn says that the boy could make his choice easier if he has a sister to share his sweets who dislike, for instance, coconut chips. Humorously, he says, if a boy has a sister who hates coconut chips, and the boy loves coconut chips, so he definitely buy that cocoa chips, and there's no place for sharing with his sibling so that he can eat all that sweet fully. In that kind, so there is no need of or sharing. Then Lynn declares that such greed is to be blamed, but the pain of sharing almond rock with many others is extremely bitter. Then he speaks about a sweet named almond rock. Pain of sharing it is extremely bitter. In sense that sweet is so softer and so sweeter. If one tastes that sweet, he or she never mind of sharing. Hence, the author remarks that the pang of desire and sharing stop children from eating sweet with the others. So, every children has a desire over sweets, and it makes them bearing to sharing. Share with their friends or siblings or some fellows. Sweets not for sharing. A boy who never offers a sweet to a friend is regarded as one who would like to be hanged. On the other hand, a well-mean boy has bought a packet of sweets with the benevolent intention of sharing it with others, but when he gets home, he has discovered that the packet is finished. Here, Lynn speaks about two kind of boys: one who buys a packet of sweets, and the one who never offers sweets. The one who buys a packet of sweets is a benevolent one, but he knows or he may not know that once he enters the home full of children with the packet full of sweets, it gets finished. Yes, the writer too found it difficult to get home with a box of nugget. And the writer himself says that he finds difficulty to go home with the pocket full of nuggets. The silver wrapper of nugget tempted him to open the box and made him to taste the piece. If the author buys a bottle of nugget and gets his home, it tempts him to eat in that way in itself. And he felt that the worst of nugget is that one could not stop eating. If you take one nugget from the jar, you could complete everything at a glance. The writer says that if his home had not been so far from the shop, the others would have considered him a saint for not touching nugget. So Lynn's preference was almost almond rock. He also wonders at a sweet which turns color as one sucks it. He enjoyed miraculous transformation by taking it out of mouth for a while. So Lin here speaks about his favorite sweets, and as quoted earlier, Lin spoke about the almond rock, and we can know that the almond rock is the favorite sweet of Robert Lin. So he enjoys a miraculous transformation of sweet one, a kind of sweet. If you swallow or if you put into a mouth, it takes some other kind of form. And next he mentions a flat honey flavored sweet in which three penny was sandwiched between the two. And he also spoke about another kind of sweet which hides three pennies on itself. And then the infants of the town bought shillings worth chocolate with the unearned three pence. And the infants as three pence buys if they had three pence they buy sweets, but it never worth shillings. This was regarded as dangerous incitement of gambling and was stopped. Lim says that this was regarded as gambling, and he says that sweet never tasted quite the same afterward. Lin concludes his essay by saying that adults' taste for tobacco, beer, wine, and whiskey are not sufficient compensation for the loss of the appetite for sweets. Because an adult does not long for all brands of cigarettes in the shop. He does not consider the packet of cigarettes as a treasure. He smokes not much for pleasure but for the purpose of avoiding the discomfort of not smoking. Wine experts may have the excitement of a child eating sweets, but they have lost the indiscriminates of enjoyment. They discriminate the good and bad wine. On the other hand, the child lives happily in a world in which greed and not fastidiousness are the source of pleasure. He never heard of bad sweets and love all sweets, the large heartedness with which it love all stars and fire. So, with this, Robert Lynn concludes this essay by comparing the love of an adult over tobacco or cigarette or some kind of wine with the love of a child over sweets. Right. So, thank you.